This is Ubuntu Radio.
A better South Africa, a better Africa, and a better world.
With us right now is Mokgadi Mabela, the founder and director of Native Nosi. Native Nosi is a registered young black female-owned beekeeping company that specializes in the production of local raw honey and pollination services to crop farmers in an effort to respond to various environmental and socio-economic challenges country faces. Good afternoon, welcome to Ubuntu Radio. Good afternoon, Mo.
Hi, how are you?
I'm good, how are you?
I'm great, thank you.
Who did you think I was talking to?
I don't know, I thought you were going to go to a commercial or something.
you just had a moment where I just
looked at you and I'm like, okay, do your thing. I'm good, thank you.
It's a pleasure to have you here at our headquarters.
Thank you so much. For me coming here, I was telling you that I used to always dream about spending more time in this place. So the more I'm here, the better.
And here you are.
Thank you.
So first and foremost, take us through your journey, where you were born and what was your childhood like?
So I was born here actually. I was born in Kobara, Baragwanath Hospital. My mom was a nurse. And she used to obviously work there, and I was born there. My father at the time was also working the site at Isando. And my grandparents had a house in Alex. They still do, but at the time they were still living there. And I was born here, but I wasn't here for long. You know, as with parents from Rai, they're like, so my parents made a conscious decision to actually relocate back to Limpopo, and they relocated to Lebowakgomo. Then I was at Lebowakgomo for most of my childhood, and towards the end of my primary school, we moved to Polokwane, where we stay up until today. So that's just where I grew up, and I was primarily in boarding schools, I think since grade 4 all the way up until matric at an agricultural high school called Settlers. And from there I came to Pretoria, at the University of Pretoria, to study international relations.
What?
And I majored in political science and public administration. And that's just basically a nutshell of my life and how I grew up and where I went to school.
Speaking of international relations, right? You have international relations on one side. On the other side, you have farming, bee farming. How? Like, please make it make sense.
No, it actually doesn't make sense. It doesn't make a lot of sense because the intention was never to do anything agriculture. You can see, I am like a city girl. But with me, my father was a beekeeper. He always was, he still is. And it has always been a part of my life. Although not directly, but I'm a beneficiary of being a farmer's daughter, and he has been doing beekeeping for as long as I can remember. And I think a lot of it I learned through observation, because sometimes when he is, going somewhere and we're in the car and he passes by a farm where his bees are, we'd be in the car and we'd see what he's doing. He'd open the hive just to check, it wouldn't be a formal, hive inspection, but he would just want to make sure that his bees are fine and stuff. And a lot of the stuff I learned it like that. And obviously when he would harvest honey, he'd bring it home, and the honey that we would use at home, he would, literally extract it at home himself and pour it into jars for us to use. And I wasn't aware that I was learning something that other kids or households did not know. I didn't know that it was, a thing. And up until, I came to tertiary, I told you that I went to study. And then I learned through a random tea session at work. I was an intern for international relations at one of the government departments, and someone is having tea and they're having honey. But now this honey is not giving. I'm like, but what are you having? She's like, I'm having honey. I'm like, no. I'm going to bring you some of my dead stuff. That is the real stuff. And by sharing that, I didn't know this entire thing was going to catapult and just snowball into something else. And that's how my two worlds intertwine.
So at what point did you decide to, enroll for beekeeping course? Particularly if you said you went to University of Pretoria, you studied international relations there, and years later, here you are enrolling for a different course except in beekeeping. At what point really did you decide, okay, I'm going to do this and I'm going to see it through? I don't only want the practical side of it, I also want to understand the theory behind beekeeping.
So, as I told you, I had no intentions to be, in this industry, and everything that I had learned up until that point was pure observation of what my father was doing. And I think when I started, selling some of my father's honey to my colleagues, because after I gave that one, the honey, she told everyone and everyone wanted honey. And I started, identifying that, look, there's a business opportunity here. I could get honey from my father or from whichever farmer and then put a markup and then resell the honey. And then the volumes that I was moving soon fast, outweighed the volumes that my father was farming. And then he said, listen, I can connect you to my network of farmers who actually have honey and make honey, and it's not their main trade, so they may have some honey to sell you. But in the event that I don't have honey and the other farmers don't have honey for you, do you not think it will be valuable to just have your own beehives and learn how to make your own honey so that you can have your own supply? And I was not sure if the knowledge that I had of beekeeping was on par with industry standards of beekeeping, of honey packaging, of food handling, all of that stuff, of marketing your honey. And I thought, I don't want to enter the industry and think I know and realize that actually I don't know. Maybe I should capacitate myself more since this thing is getting serious, just so that I can be able to be confident even when I move, that, I'm doing it from a place of research. I'm doing it from a place of relevance, and I'm also doing it from a place of peer review, because when you go to school, you meet other people who have been doing it. Other people are newbies like you. Other people have just started, and in that way you gain a community of other people who have the same interest as you, and at least then you're not, doing it alone. So it was just to tick all those boxes and just more than anything make sure that what I knew was, parallel to industry standards, and that was going to give me the confidence to move forward, knowing that I'm relevant. I have studied. I know what I'm doing, and I've done my part to actually try and give myself some knowledge about this new industry. Well, not new, but new.
I think you were quite privileged, and I'll tell you why. Beekeeping, when we were growing up, it wasn't such a common, sector, particularly amongst us, the natives in the rural areas. So having been exposed to that at a young age and to where you are today, I think it should be a privilege for you. And I hope you realize that you are quite fortunate. You mentioned something, you're like, I'm a beneficiary of, I'm like, at least. How fortunate are you? But what I also want to understand is, in juggling the corporate world at the time and beekeeping, would you say the part about the beekeeping was much about passion, or it was just, you were just doing it for fun, you enjoyed doing it?
I realized that I had an advantage over a lot of people, because as I told you, when I shared the honey that I had from my dad, people are like, oh my word, this is great honey, tell us more about it. And when I was telling them how I grew up, how my dad makes the honey, the types of, honey blossoms that we have, people were mind blown. And then I realized that actually, I think what I know is common knowledge, and it actually isn't. It's not common knowledge. So I did it from a place of an advantage, and also just realizing that I have the opportunity to continue a legacy that my father started. Yes, it was not the intention, but I'm here now. There's interest. I have, the capability to do this. And in doing so and in responding, I will be able to preserve, this not very popular a gift that my father has and he's harnessed. And his passion that has helped us, to be where we are in our lives. So it's not only just about, knowing what I know that other people don't know. I also have an opportunity to do it, in my way. I don't have to be at the farm. I'm not that girl. I can be at the farm when I need to be at the farm. But, there's different ways to do it. I can commercialize it as my father was more subsistence. We have, tools like social media. I'm here at Ubuntu Radio today. I don't think my father has ever had a radio interview, and yet he's a very passionate, knowledgeable man about beekeeping. So I knew that I had so much more at my disposal that I could use to catapult what my father has done, and to actually give him the voice and just the pleasure of seeing his girl child doing this and just carrying forward the family legacy. I really started appreciating those things about the beekeeping journey, that I'd be doing just more than being an entrepreneur. I'd be, ticking many boxes.
Is your dad aware that you speak highly of him? Is he aware that your face lights up when you say, my dad, like with so much, conviction, with so much pride?
He does not rate me at all. When I started, my dad was so cynical about me doing it. I think because in African culture, men do not intend to pass legacies to their girl children.
Yeah.
Because Gasipedi, or in just
when you
African culture,
family.
Yeah, in African culture, the end goal is always for your daughter to get married.
Yes.
And take up a family surname of another man, or whichever husband has married her, and then bear that family children so that they can continue that family legacy. So the continuation of whatever the family is doing to the girl child is always limited or disregarded. So whenever that happens, it's always with a son or whatever. So my father, I just never had it in his cards that I would do what I'm doing today. And when I started, he's just like, no, it's a male-dominated industry. You think it's easy, honey's heavy. He was just thinking about all the limitations, and also safety, because a lot of beekeeping work happens at night for safety reasons, for both humans, animals, and for the bees themselves. So he was also thinking about, all those dynamics, and it's just like, it's probably not going to work, and you are going to be out of your depth. And it just took me thinking, this man thinks I'm here to play. And I just went at it, and people would tell me, have you seen Mokgadi on TV? Oh my word, we heard her on a radio interview. We saw her in a magazine, and all of those things. And then he started, realizing that, okay, this girl is not playing jokes. And only now does he appreciate that I decided to take this route. Does he think, does he know that I radiate this much? I'm not sure. But he's heard me on a couple of interviews, and me just paying homage to what he started and what I've been able to continue, that, yeah, this girl is proud of me. I hope he knows, because I mean, really, I don't think there are a lot of people like me who are able to do what they do because of what the family or the father has started.
Let's talk about the birth of Native Nosi. How did you coin that name, Native Nosi?
So I did share with you that when we initially started, I realized, I didn't know at the time, but I realized that the honey that my colleague gave me, there was something not right about it. I later learned about honey fraud and South Africa importing more honey than it actually produces, and the honey on our commercial fields is, doesn't contain, honey most of the time. It's fortified sugars and whatever. And I wanted the name to reflect a promise that this is the real deal. And that is how I thought, how can I capture that in a name where, without me giving you this full story, you are able to just, from this name, know that this is authentic, this is homegrown, this is local, this is produced by the bees. And native is where then that part of the honey is represented, just the authenticity and the natural product that you're getting from the bees. And then Nosi, I am Mobedi. from
Of
Limpopo,
course.
and we refer to the honeybee as Nosi. And I thought the marriage between the two names would signify, what I was trying to communicate to people, that I am giving you the most authentic version of what nature has to offer in this bottle of honey. And that's how Native Nosi was born.
So now there's a few women in this sector, if we really have to be quite honest. What are some of the challenges really that you've had to encounter as a beekeeper in South Africa?
Well, the challenges that are relevant to us beekeepers, especially female beekeepers, are the challenges that a lot of people or a lot of females have in the work industry, in entrepreneurship. Obviously, we're always a minority, and you are not taken seriously until you are able to prove yourself 10 times more than what the male would do. Obviously, as a Black person, there are also unique challenges that you have, funding land as a South African, and we all know how difficult it is to pursue any kind of farming without land. So those kind of things are, relevant to us. There's also things like what do you call this? The business environment in South Africa that is so that you must jump so many hoops just to legally and I wanted to say compliantly, just to be able to be compliant, whether it is SARS, whether it is us people in the food handling business, whether it is the banks, whether just to get a bank. There's just so many hoops that I believe the South African ecosystem has not gotten right for female entrepreneurs or entrepreneurs in general. And obviously then the nuances that would then apply to the beekeeping industry, it's just male dominated, white dominated. There are also things like, I told you we must work at night. So safety, we know South Africa, we've got so much violence, especially gender-based violence, where you aren't feeling as safe as a woman who has to do beekeeping at night in a country like South Africa. I'm actually
shocked. I wasn't aware that you actually have to do that at night.
You have to do that at night because remember, bees are most active during the day. And them being most active means they're most aggressive during the day. So when you work with beehives during the day, they are most likely to sting you and everyone around you, as well as the animals around you, the people around you. At night, that is when they are less active. They're in the beehive, and you're able to work with them more, whether it's inspections, whether you need to move them from A to B. Moving them would include things like pollination, which is something, a service that we offer to crop farmers. And then we are required to move the beehives from point A to B so that we can be able to provide pollination for maybe apple farmers, lychee farmers, citrus farmers, and whatever. And for you to be able to effectively do those kind of things, it has to be at night. Everyone is safe, but like from being stung and just being able to work faster and more efficiently, it's better at night, and the bees are less likely to be flying around. So you're able to also then contain your bees, without them getting lost or dying or whatever. So yeah, all of those things are challenges that we face as female beekeepers, female entrepreneurs, Black South Africans, young South Africans, and they affect also us as beekeepers.
So how does your work contribute to food security, and have you thought of partnering with other businesses within the county and perhaps outside as well?
Yeah. So how bees, I'm gonna actually put it like this. Without bees, we won't have fruits, vegetables, seeds, and nuts. Right? If you don't have seeds, how are you going to grow your crops? If you don't have fruits and vegetables, how does that be categorized as a balanced diet? And what bees do, I just refer to it now as pollination. We as human beings are able to reproduce. If I want a child, I know that I must be with a male, and we must be able to reproduce so that we can be able to have a child. flowers and crops can't do that for themselves. They rely on external factors to be able to do that, which is bees, which is insects, the wind, animals, sometimes human beings, because from visiting one flower to one flower, they are moving around pollen, and the pollen is going to swap with female pollen and all of that. And then in that way, that is how the seeds are able to grow and become flowers and, be able to germinate into crops. And bees are the most efficient at doing that. In fact, that's what they do. That's what they do to actually make the honey. They are able to move from flower to flower, and in that process, they're able to then provide pollination. And when they provide pollination, the yield of the fruit is greater in terms of mass. So where you were supposed to get, say, 5 citrus fruit, depending on the level of pollination, you could end up with, say, 9 or 10. And then the quality of the fruit is much superior. And then that is where the food security comes in, because in the absence of having bees, you fail to have the pollination. And then when you fail to have the pollination, your yield and your quality of whatever crop you're growing is inferior. And so you then realize that we need bees, because we get farmers who call us, hi, this is the flowering season for the Evo, please quote us for pollination. We quote them, and then they're like, fine, please bring 200 beehives.
Just
we
like
literally then take them in shifts depending on how resourceful you are. As we are working from a bakkie, it can't take 200 at a go. Then we just have a plan that every 3 days we're going to be bringing 50 hives, because maybe that's what fits on the back of our bakkie. The big industrialists, they go with one truck and then they place 200 hives
At a go,
or even 100, so that it can be integrated. And then the bees, you don't end up having an influx of bees overnight, So, and then that's what we do. And then just before they start spraying, they will call us back and say, no, we'll be spraying in the next week or 2. Pollination season has come to an end. Please come and remove your bees. And we actively do that for crop farmers, especially with high value crops like blueberries, like avocados, like macadamia nuts, like citrus, all types, cucumbers. We do so much pollination. It's actually where the bulk of our money comes from. And then we're able to do that for crop farmers. And then in doing that, then you respond to food security, because you're actively working towards ensuring that there is enough crops to feed our people and to also export. So economically, that's where then it also plays a role, because you need people on the ground, which then creates jobs. And then you are able to then sell your honey, whether locally or internationally, to ensure that there is trade and then there is economic activity.
I've learned so much about bees today. You always think but I've learned quite a lot. But a typical customer would like to know, seeing that we have access to you today, how can I tell if there's bad honey from good honey? Because you also know that a lot of products in the market right now are processed. Whether it's carrots, whether it's avocados, the sizes are not even normal because they are processed. So if I want to go buy honey, how do I distinguish between good honey and bad honey?
Unfortunately, in the market, in the commercial markets and chain stores, unless you are involved in the actual process, you purely rely on the information that is on the honey bottle. And then that will rely on the ethics of the buyers and of your retailers. So there is no way of knowing. The best that you can do, within your control, is just to at least try and get a single source honey. Single source honey means you don't have 5 different honey sources on the same bottle, because sometimes it will say made from China and or Zambia and or New Zealand and or Brazil and or Netherlands and or. You don't want the and or. You want a country of origin to be one, where and preferably an African country, but most preferably South African. And then you also want to see raw honey. And then you also try to avoid irradiated. So you are looking for raw South African pure honey. That's what
Okay.
you're looking for in the bottle. But this information is heavily reliant on the ethical compass of whoever is putting it on the shelf. When you know a Mokgadi, or when you know a bee farmer,
Yeah.
and you're able to get it from your bee farmer, rather do that. That is the best option, because then in that way, you are able to guarantee that the bottle you have is authentic honey. If you don't have that, then just use the information I provided to, at least within your control, try as much as possible to get a locally produced bottle of honey, because then it does not have to undergo irradiation. Irradiation is the process that the government uses to protect South African citizens from any inborn diseases that may be in the honey when the honey is being imported. On the point of entry, all bottles of honey need to be irradiated. The intention is good. The unintentional consequence is that it kills all the nutritional content in the honey, and you end up with a syrup. And I always tell people that you're better off just having a spoon of salati and keeping it moving. So that is the disadvantage with using imported honey. Because at the point of entry, legally, it should be irradiated, but then that completely destroys the product. So when you have a South African bottle of honey, it does not have to undergo that process. And that's how you are able to at least, know that you're having an authentic bottle of honey.
And more, you can imagine that in winter, a lot of us go to the stores, different stores, to stock up on honey because flu. And there are other people like me, I prefer honey over sugar because I'm trying to really adopt a healthy lifestyle. But with that said, let's talk about the day you opened the store, the Native Nosi store. How was that like?
So I made a very brave decision to open up a Native Nosi honey emporium. I had to do it. I really had to do it. I had to do it for so many reasons. I had to do it for the South African girl child. I had to do it for my dad and my grandfather. I didn't tell you that my father learned beekeeping from his father, who was actually a crop farmer. He was not a beekeeper, but he understood the role of bees for his crops, the pollination that I was telling you about, and he had very superior crops. And my father was particularly drawn to the beekeeping. So I knew that I had to pay homage to them. I had to do it for my kids. I've got two beautiful girls, and we also have a third one, which my husband had before we met. I had to do it for them. I had to do it for the girls. I had to do it for the South African entrepreneur, so that they could be able to see, the challenges are always there, every single day, all the time. And if we focus on the challenges every day, we'll never go anywhere, we'll never advance, So I had to do it for that, to say, you know what, within all these challenges and limitations, there is some good that we can do. I had to do it for the South African economy. I had to create jobs. I had to use what I knew and what I had at my disposal to present the dream to my immediate and my external community. And that was so gratifying. I think I couldn't believe it for the first 3 months. Sometimes it is one of those milestones that I'll forever be proud of. And I told myself, whether it succeeds or not, that is not the point. We obviously want business to always be positive, but right now in this moment, this is what I can do, this is what I can offer South Africa, and I'm gonna do it.
And how do you juggle motherhood, being a wife, beekeeping, and some of your corporate work that you do? Because a lot of people don't know this, but she's a mixed DJ, ladies and gentlemen. She's been behind the mic on radio as well, besides the corporate world, besides beekeeping. She wears quite a lot of hats. How do you manage?
I don't even know. I can't even tell you. I think what I try to do, I don't let my life consume me. I take it one day at a time, and I try and do what I can with what I have. Life is hard. Motherhood is hard. Being a wife is hard. Making money is hard. And starting anything is even harder. So I always tell myself that whatever I have for today, whatever money I have, whatever energy I have, whatever time I have, Whatever love I have to give for today, I'm gonna give today my best shot with what I have. Some days are excellent. I am, they're ticking many boxes, and I am feeling like a superhero. Other mornings, I am not even trying to get out of bed. Listen, I'm just trying to breathe, And so I think if you look at it holistically, I look hectic. I look extremely busy, and I may be to a certain extent. But in my own world, I try to do what I can with what I have. And sometimes it's a lot. Other times it's barely nothing. Sometimes I spend the whole day in bed and my kids bring me food and they bring me an apple and I just have a coffee and continue sleeping. Mm-hmm. So that's how I manage. And I try to take it a project at a time. Mm-hmm. And whatever I'm able to achieve, yay. If I want to achieve more, I try harder. But most of the time, I try to not put too much pressure on myself and just do what I can with what I have.
Let's talk about the young people who aspire to be in this profession or this sector. What is your advice to those young people? And secondly, where do you see Native Nosi in the next decade?
I have a big vision for Native Nosi needs to be. I even always think I'm so scared to even tell people about it, because when something is so big and it scares you,
it's a good thing. It's a good thing.
And it scares you and you're just not sure if people will think you've lost your mind, because some of the things that you want to achieve, you're not sure if they're achievable. Mm-hmm. I've never seen anyone doing them before, but I basically want to make beekeeping relatable to somebody who didn't even care. Somebody who didn't even know that they needed to know certain things about bees, about their impact on the world, about how it affects their everyday life, about just normal everyday activities, whether you're cooking, whether you're going to work and you're an engineer, whether you're a mother, whether you're a farmer, whether you're an environmentalist, whether you're just a girl, whether you're somebody who just cares about the environment. Mm-hmm. I want to make beekeeping relatable to as many people as possible by using obviously social media, and also just using my power to be able to do that. The how is the part that actually scares me. I'm not sure, or I question. I have a lot of what do you call this, when I have a lot of imposter syndrome when I think about what I want to do. Because I always have to stop myself and question, girl, are you sure? Can you pull it off? So that's how far I wanted to go. I know I'm capable. I don't know if I'm brave enough to start, but we're already here. So I think soon you'll see what I'm talking about.
You must invite us. We will come. I'm just disappointed that you do not bring Bitumelo and I honey. And we are going to buy, but it's fine. So for someone who wants to come to your store, walk-ins, you allow walk-ins, ne? To do online?
No, not anymore. We've moved from the store. We are online. In the process of we are online. Uh-huh. And you asked me a question that I actually wanted to answer before I get to where they can get the honey. Mm-hmm. The young entrepreneurs who want to start.
Yes.
The most important thing is just to start where you are with what you have. Amen. Do your research. We have, the privilege of the internet era, social media. Now it's AI. So there is a lot of tools for you to get the information you need to just give you a basic understanding of whatever industry. It doesn't have to be beekeeping, and be able to use, the tools and the people around you at your disposal. Your network is your biggest currency, the people around you, because they know people, they have resources that you don't have, they have a bigger reach than what you do have. They have money sometimes, even if it's not to give you a startup capital, but to buy your honey, to, talk to your colleagues who can actually, buy honey. So start where you are with what you have. If you've got the resources to formalize it, take a beekeeping course, join a beekeeping WhatsApp group, so that you can be able to have more knowledge about what you're doing. And once you start, just like everything, things start falling into place. But the biggest step is to start, because it's so scary trying anything new, and it's also scary bringing an idea that's in your head to life. And then for our honey, we have an online store, and those people who would like to find out the different products that we do have them on our online store, but we also have a number. They can contact the Native Nosi at 066 232 7780 or at info@nativenosi.co.za, and we should be able to help you. We are active on all social media profiles.
Oh, nice.
We've got a Facebook account, Facebook page. We also have a very responsive Instagram page, so they can also get us there, as well as it's X these days, Twitter. So people can be able to find us at those platforms, and we should be able to help them. We are big on corporate gifting. We call it gifting with impact, and that is where we love, sharing our honey the most. But if you just want a honey bottle for you and your family, we can do that. If you want favors from your special occasion, baby shower, wedding, we can also do that. So just give us a call, tell us what you want, and we'll do our best to be able to help you.
Thank you so much for joining us on Ubuntu Radio. But before we end the show, I just want to ask you something. There are people that associate, well, many of us, myself included, we associate bees with good luck.
It's a good omen. It's a good omen. I just wish that our black people, our Africans, appreciated bees a lot more. Then we would not panic when bees come into our space, because the first thing you do, if you can kill it, you're probably gonna kill it, But bees are a very good omen. Traditionally, bees are revered, and they are highly spiritual, and they represent wealth. They represent organized systems. So they represent organized communities. They represent good luck. They represent a power of multiplication and reproduction because of how they move in numbers. They represent solid structures because of the shape of the hexagons and what you're able to do with them. So bees are a very good omen in the African context, and definitely with me, whenever I'm not sure about a decision, normally I'll have a bee just come in the morning in my room. It's very random. I don't know how it happens. And whenever bees come in, there is a decision that I'm not sure if I should go ahead with it or not. And if that bee comes in through my window in the morning, then I know that I should go ahead with it, and it always is fail-proof. So yeah, maybe we should stop killing them and appreciating them a bit more, because bees are good and they are a great omen.
Ladies and gentlemen, Mokgadi Mabela, the founder and director of Native Nosi, what a pleasure it has been having you on Ubuntu Radio. Hopefully we'll have you again next time, and if there are workshops that you'll be partaking in, or if they are on our side, I think a lot of people have a lot to learn from what you do.
Thank you so much for having me. It was great talking to you and catching up.
This is Ubuntu Radio.
A product of the Department of International Relations and Cooperation, South Africa.